You're listening to the Boycey Talks podcast, a podcast about faith, life, mission, and other stuff, with your host, Adam Boyce.
Welcome back to the second part of my conversation with Olly King Jims Sherwood. The conversation did go on and on and on, so we've split it into two parts, and I'm not going to go on and on introducing it, so here goes the second part to our conversation. So, bruv, tell me, how did you go from being out there knocking doors for a company with a guy called Glory, who used to be called Killer?
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. He's had a name and a heart change. But how did you go from knocking doors for the world to knocking doors for God's kingdom?
Yeah. So, bro, I loved knocking doors at that time. I loved the job that I was in. But coming to Christ, I had a real excitement for the Lord. And I really just wanted to just have more time being with Jesus. And Glory would go to church on Wednesday evenings, and he'd have home groups in the week, and be there on Sunday. And I'd be there on Sunday, but then for the rest of the week I'd be getting home 10 o'clock usually, and working throughout the day from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. sort of time. And I just thought, you know what, I just really want to be with the Lord. I just want to spend time with the Lord. And so the rapper who I'd met through Instagram, who had messaged me saying he wanted to meet up, he rings me up and tells me about this opportunity at London City Mission, where they're training people to be able to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, I had been praying at this point, saying, Lord, I want to talk to people about Jesus. I want to talk to people about Jesus. And I'm specifically at the time I wanted to do youth work. Mm. And so he calls me up, tells me about London City Mission. And
had you heard of London City Mission before this point?
I'd never heard of London City Mission in my life, mate. I'd only just heard about Jesus.
Well, yeah, true.
I'm right at the early stages here. And so
how long had you been? Just to paint the picture, how long had you been a Christian up until this point?
Oh man, when he had rang me. It would have been about 4 months. And when I joined London City Mission, it would have been about 7 months, 6-7 months.
So 4 months in, you've got this something inside of you that's making you, God is calling you. Maybe it's taken like me, it's taken years to kind of work out this calling, but God is calling you to share this good news by the sounds of it. It's not, you don't want to be knocking doors anymore for this company selling stuff. You want to be knocking doors by the sounds of it, spending more time trying to build God's kingdom. But how did you get from, what did the program look like? So what is this thing that he's phoned you and said to you, there's this opportunity? What did you learn about it, and what made that particular opportunity seem appealing to you?
Well, yeah, let me answer the latter question first, of what made appealing to me, because basically the strange thing is I got introduced into evangelism straight away as a Christian.
Right.
When I went to church with Glory, after being there, I come to realise that on I think it was either the first or the last Sunday of every month, they'd go out and evangelise, right? They'd go out evangelising. For those who might be listening, don't know what it is basically talking to people about Jesus. They go out on the high street and they'd be talking to people about Jesus, and I'd be creeping out, man. I'd be terrified. And one time I actually walked up to a guy and I thought, let me try and share the gospel with him. And I said to him, mate, do you believe in Jesus? And he went, no. And I went, oh, okay. And I ended up walking off and leaving it there. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't know what I was expected to get out of it. But so I really wanted to grow in this, and I wanted to. I felt like I had to learn. And so he tells me about this, and I don't know too much about it. I don't know if he knew too much about it either, because it was just a new thing that they were doing, sort of bringing in rough around the edges people like me and you, bruv.
Speak for yourself, brother.
And sorting us out. Yeah, so the course is I think, I was just so excited about this, and it was brilliant because there'd be lectures every week, which was highly intimidating for me because I really didn't know the Bible at all, and there was quite a mixture of people. Like you had someone in the class who'd been arrested in Egypt, and then you had little old me who just been a Christian for
what, 7 months. You said, yeah.
No, I mean, you had people that were like almost like Bible scholars, and then like I'm just there, just like, what on earth is going on here? So it was very intimidating for me, bruv. Like I didn't know anything of the Bible, and I found myself just really struggling. Homework was difficult as well. I remember the first time we got set homework, I didn't do it. I'd never done homework in school, so it was like being back at school again. And at this point, you know, I just didn't realise, like, I wasn't so alert on or about. I wasn't so aware of about how much. I was aware how much these things were a struggle for me, but I didn't know why. I didn't know like coping mechanisms and stuff. And now I love lectures. I'll sit in them all day, like voluntarily. You know what I mean? But and the thing is, so it was very hard, and I'm so grateful. And so many times where I had this voice in my head, "You don't belong here, mate. You might as well just leave and whatnot."
I can relate, brother.
Yeah, bro. And for people who were listening, when things are like if you find that as a Christian, you know, you feel uncomfortable at times, well, then you know that there's going to be some growing.
Well, you're in the right place, aren't you? That's what I found. You know, and you're right. I can relate to the Bible knowledge and feeling intimidated and looking around the room. And at those times, our lecture classes were, I think, at least 20 people, weren't they? Which to some might not sound like a lot, but there was a lot of people. There was a lot of opinions. There was a lot of experience. There was no experience. There was people like me that thought they knew the Bible and the gospel, but really had no idea, and still had a lot of theology to work out. So, but I found that you're right. Whenever I felt uncomfortable, even though I wanted to run a million miles, I knew that it's in those moments that God is up to something and He's going to use me. He's going to mold me. But being on that potter's wheel, it's shaky. It's messy.
100, and even in that time, like one thing I found so difficult is that the tables weren't facing towards the front. Like I think it was the first year or two of lectures where the tables would be like sort of in like some sort of rectangular, so everyone could see
like
everyone.
An auditorium, wasn't it?
Comfortable, like. Yeah, I couldn't fall asleep without anyone, you know, like without everyone knowing I was asleep. So, but you know, the thing is that, and I found it hard, bruv, because I was very, very zealous on the field, very zealous on the field, and I felt like the Olly in class was not not displaying the Olly that's outside, and
vice versa. So the Olly that is on the road is not being, and the zealot on the road is not being displayed in class, and the Olly in class is not being displayed on the road. So when did the synergy happen instead of the tension? So when did it go from like two magnets rubbing together to two pieces of a jigsaw puzzle just perfectly? Boom.
Do you know what, brother? I've never thought about that, right? But it just makes me think how much God's grace must be with me to actually help me, because I can't really pinpoint a time. I do know that like becoming aware of ADHD has been revolutionary for me, and now I'll sit in lectures all day long. But even before that, there did come a point. I think it was the first like 3 years was a real struggle for me.
Yeah, me too, bro. Can't lie.
Yeah, and I think it was when actually, like, after going through like the early stages and then becoming a missionary, like things started to fit in a bit more. Like I used to feel quite lonely to start off with as well, but because I just felt like I didn't know who like I fitted in with at the time. Do you know what I mean? It was quite difficult. Like I just felt very paranoid, bruv, in a setting. Like I didn't have to be in such settings like this, and like. Where I'm learning but I'm learning in a place where everyone knows a lot about this subject already, and I knew nothing. And it was like I didn't see it like that at the time. I just thought like, I don't know, bruv. I just couldn't. The thing is, I couldn't take in information, bruv. Like there would be times like when whoever was teaching a lesson would be like, Ollie, what do you think? I'm like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I used to hate those
like,
moments.
You might even remember them.
Yeah, I was relieved when you was getting asked, and not me. I'm not gonna lie, bruv.
Yeah, bruv. Oh, mate, I was just like, but you pulled it off well, though, bruv. Like you like, I don't know, you were quite, I don't know, people. I don't know, bruv. Like you wouldn't have been able to tell that you were feeling uncomfortable. Me, I felt quite uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? And I just felt, but like now, Bruv, I'm so thankful, bruv. Like, so this is what I'm saying, that how God will use things like that are uncomfortable for us, because I am so grateful for the things that I've learned. And even in the times when you don't think you're learning, the brain is such an
It's
amazing.
a magic sponge, but I call it the magic sponge.
You'll have learnt something, and you won't know where you've learnt it from, but you've learnt it from somewhere where you didn't think you were taking it in. And there's stuff. I'm just so thankful, bruv. And now, like, I've become, more awakened to certain things. Still recognizing that I don't know much at all, but now I've become more awakened. Like these things excite me and intrigue me and interest me, and I just want to know more. And I'm just hungry. I think it was more maybe down to an intimidation thing. Do you know the thing is, it's amazing, isn't it? When you don't believe in yourself, or when you have fear, like, it will stop you from getting the most out of something, because it probably weren't even down to what I knew or whatnot. It was probably just down to fear, not feeling like you're just feeling out of place, or I don't know. Like, I can't really pinpoint it too much. I might be over exaggerating it.
No, I don't think you are, bruv. I don't think you are over exaggerating. I think what you're painting a picture of is a guy that was on a journey, is on a journey, and he's just growing, and has just been willing for God to take them through a painful transition that we're still going through. But you just get used to the pain, I guess, of that molding and that shaping and that cutting back and that throwing into the fire and refining, all of that. I think we just not get used to the pain as in we're complacent, but we just get used to that. Okay, God has got us, and He's changing us, and He's molding us, He's refining us, and everything that comes with that: losing friends, losing perspectives, gaining new ones, etc., etc. As we said, you've gone from knocking doors for this sales company. You're now knocking doors, working 3 days a week. You've got a day a week doing lectures. You've got a day a week, if you was like me, you was working, shadowing a missionary across the city somewhere, seeing what they do and how they do it. And then you got a day a week, you're expected to pioneer some new ministry at your home church. What was it like for you shadowing an experienced missionary somewhere in the city? Where was you? Who was you with? And as a 7-month-old Christian, if that makes sense, what was that like for you?
Quite daunting, to be honest. I mean, right, we're going to go out on the street and talk to people about Jesus. But actually, I just felt I somehow just started to develop in this more and more. I thought on the first day of stepping out on the street that I'd just be glued to the missionary that I was with. But also, I remember, because I was placed in Hounslow, but I remember I'd sometimes come up to Tottenham to where you were. Do you remember?
That's right.
At the beginning, they placed me with you guys working at the hub. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd knock doors there, wouldn't we? So it was different. Like, I was getting different experience, different areas. I think for me, the main focus was the sort of book table street evangelism, talking in the street. I really took to that. And
so is there stuff that you didn't take to, or because you just said you really took to the book table, and by the sounds of it, sort of conversational street evangelism. Is there stuff that you haven't taken to that makes you feel uncomfortable, but you still do it, or you shy away from it? Don't go near it.
Not quite at that point. It was when things started to get more confusing in my complex brain as I grew in Christianity and started hearing all these isms, that things started to get. But I think, do you know what I think, brother, as well? What helped me to really enjoy street evangelism? I had my friend Marshall with me at the time, and it reminded me when Jesus sent people out in twos, and it was such a buzz, bruv, to be together talking to people about Jesus on the street, and that really helped me. I feel like that was God's grace to have a friend who was actually a personal friend of mine before LCM, and just to be with someone who was so passionate about the mission work and evangelizing, So things that I didn't like, I think being trapped in meetings, I guess, more wanting to just get out there, and I couldn't understand. I just really didn't understand, because as a new Christian, and I feel I had like the gift of evangelism in me. I couldn't understand why I was so on fire to talk to people about Jesus, but then the church were just like it didn't seem that there was this focus on we need to get souls. Like I couldn't understand it, bruv, and that was sort of negging me out a bit at times. Yeah.
And so how did you work that out then? Where are you with that now?
I think understanding actually how we're all called to be witness, but not everyone is called to the office of evangelism. You know, some are teachers, some are, preachers, prophets, apostles, evangelists, whatever. But God works us all together as different cogs. And if everyone was just the same thing, it wouldn't work well. So I'd say with maturity, because when you're young and you're zealous, and it's like you're an idiotic teenager who thinks he knows it all, but you know nothing. Like, you know nothing. Like, even now, I've growing into this a bit, I'm like, my days, I know nothing, but there's still that sense of me sometimes that I can think I know it all. But actually, like, Ollie, mate, you know nothing. You don't know. Like, were you there when God created the heavens and the earth? Like what he said to Job in the Bible.
Yeah.
Where were you? You know?
So where are you? So not where are you now physically, but in terms of your ministry over the years, and what your ministry's grown amazingly, and I take a lot of inspiration from how you just put yourself out there. You've got a real boldness about how you go about your evangelism and your ministry that I find inspiring, bruv. I can't lie.
Thank you, man. That's encouraging, bro.
So one of the biggest highlights is the cafe that you you took it on and kind of repolished the wheel, didn't you? Because it was something. Am I right in saying it was something that was already going on at your church?
That's right, yeah. It was on for like a couple of hours, but it was more like very much inward focused and it's like a club more for the elderly. Yeah, so I didn't even know about that ministry until like after 2 years of being at the church. And I remember walking in on Monday, I was like, what's this? And then someone told me, I was like, what? And at that point I was like, and people outside don't know about this. So I just started to just serve alongside, honouring what they did. And then actually after a while, I just started to open it up for longer, bruv. And people started to just come along, and people have come to church through it, come on Alpha through it. There's been great friendships like through that ministry, and I've trained people to serve in that ministry and lead in that ministry. I think the hardest thing though has been like to replace myself, like being young in Christ and still being a young Christian. I'm only 6 years a Christian, bruv. You know what I mean? And I'm learning how to lead. Like, and I'm still, one of the hardest things I think is to replace yourself. And that's so.
I mean, that's like, because I guess especially as missionaries,
right,
we're here to equip, to serve and equip, and build up, and then leave. Bruv, I've always loved Hudson Taylor's analogy, and he compares a missionary to scaffolding that goes up around the building, a church, and it supports the workers and the builders in their work. You know, sometimes they help with the building work, sometimes they help with the maintenance work, sometimes they help with the repairing, and it's an important structure around the building, but it's temporary. And you know, we'll get to know the area, we'll raise up some leaders, we'll disciple some people, but if on our to-do list we haven't got dismantled the scaffolding, not physically dismantle us, but dismantle the scaffolding and put it up somewhere else, then we just become a permanent part of the structure, and that's not the job of scaffolding. And in our context, that's not the job of missionaries.
Yeah, and I've struggled with that. Like, and I'll tell you why, bruv. Because so I've come into this ministry, and I've had to get like someone to work in the kitchen washing up, someone to do serving, a couple of people on the counter, train up people to share the gospel, and that team was like from nothing, because the elderly lot would leave at 12, right? And so, I'm now managing this team, and it's like, how on earth I'm trying to train them, but like, I can't train them to do what I do because I'm leading, overseeing this. So how do I get someone to oversee it? So when you say, oh, it's been a great ministry, in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I don't know how great it has been, because I haven't been able to replace myself like that.
How do we measure success, and how does God see success?
People come to know the Lord. So, I think that's the thing though, Adam, because even like when you're saying like, oh, like what I've done at the mission and stuff, bro, like I think for me, bro, it's just basic. Like I'm not really a smart thinker when it comes to thinking, oh, what can we do here? What initiative can we start? This and that. I'm just someone that steps into things, and I happen to step into things that I've created, or God has rather purposed, and I've stepped into. Like, and that's been me my whole life. I've just been winging life. Well, I say in my terms, I've been winging it, but God has just been,
God doesn't wing it, no, bro. Yeah,
exactly. And thank God for that. I mean, like one of the things that I have, like, and it's been a challenge for me, is I haven't really got like or I haven't really developed as of yet that visionary mindset. It can be very daunting sometimes when people are asking you questions and this and that. Where's this going? What's this doing? And they're like, I'm just doing, man. I'm just serving and training people to do the same. And like, I've never really been one of these guys that's had 5-year goals and whatnot and this and that. And it can really make you feel like a failure at times because it can be so hard to get that capacity. And it's just like, I'm just a spontaneous guy, man. I just walk around the streets and tell people about Jesus. It can really feel quite tough at times and difficult because these things are so greatly valued and even celebrated as well. And that can be very difficult, especially because I've never really had, I left school early. I've never had I've never really had proper jobs. I've been in and out of work. My longest jobs was knocking doors. So, and that was very free roaming. I never had to answer emails. You know what I mean? Unless it was something that I had subscribed to. Like, I never had any work emails or anything like that coming through. So that I had to learn everything, bruv. Like, even like what it looks like to do, like answer emails and stuff and things. So it's all very daunting, and I'm still learning that now. And I often feel really out of my depth, bruv. But God sustains us, and I think in the difficulties of learning things in lectures, learning not just about Christianity, but learning about work life, that came at the same time as the Christianity thing for me, and they both were together as well because of the nature of ministry. And you look at it, you just think that these are just things that are happening in my life. They're just things, but when you look back, you actually think God's doing so much, and this is what it's all purposing towards. And it's amazing, isn't it? Because we can look at people, think they're doing so great, and people can look at us and I don't realize, actually, man, listen, I'm just like really like flapping my arms here, calling Jesus while I'm into water, like help me, you know what I mean? I ain't got a clue.
So, bruv, how does it feel then? You think you've got a lot of leadership responsibilities that you didn't necessarily seek out. By the sounds of it, God has sought you out and given them to you. So how does it feel, being on this journey of this last few years with these ministries running and these ministry responsibilities, and people looking up to you and looking to you for answers and prompts and discipline and all the stuff, all the aspects that come with leadership?
Yeah.
How do you lead yourself in your leadership, if that makes sense? What's leading you? I obviously, ultimately God, but
this is the thing, bro. Because I could find that I do these things quite naturally, like leading people and whatnot, and do those things quite well. But again, I don't think a great leader is someone that can just do those things. It's someone who can lead others to do that as well. And so, for me, it's just been what's been leading me, bro, is just, I guess, just developing and learning as I go along. Mistakes, really. I've been a great teacher, been a fantastic teacher, but learning from others. And like the thing is as well, I never viewed myself as a leader. I thought like I'm just a guy that's just happy to be there and want to. But I've somehow ended up in leadership positions, and it's like, oh my days, like it's like I've grown to not like the word because I don't know, just like everything that like all of this stuff like I don't know that you.
But do you recognize yourself as a leader now, bruv?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but like, I think that's made it easier. Like, I think, but what's difficult, bruv, is that everyone has a model for something, and you've got to do this way, and you've got to do that way, and that's what I find hard, because what people don't understand is they might be a leader giving me leadership things, but I'm a leader who has a brain wiring that functions very different to the next. I've got ADHD, bruv. Do you know what I mean? And that really affects the way I do things in my day-to-day life, and the way that I'm wired. And it's not so simple to give me a format and how I'm going to do something. I find that's very difficult. I don't know if it's a rebellion as well. Like, I don't know. Maybe I need to just try harder. But I'd say yeah. So I don't know, bro, because all of these things that I've led have been stuff that it's not really stuff that I've been told to, but it's been sort of like a sense that this is what God's wanted me to do. Anything that I've been told to lead, like in the past, hasn't really gone down too well, bruv. Like it hasn't really, when I've been put into things and that, there's been a real wrestling with me. It's like, I hate this. And then there's been a battling, like, is this God's will for me? Or is this something that, like, just a man's good idea? Or I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And I've struggled, brother. I've really, really, like, struggled. But then there's stuff that I'm able to step into quite naturally. So, again, I'm still learning, Adam. I really am. I'm still learning. Like, you know, I've got a lot to learn in leadership. I haven't even scraped the surface, brother. I've just been doing, I'd say.
Amen.
You know, I've just been doing, and then people have just been excited about what's happening and whatnot. You know what it is? I think you can just have zeal for something, and it can inspire others. And I don't know. I think that might have been like what's happened. Like, I just got an excitement for these things of Jesus.
Where are you now in your ministry, bruv? What's ministry looking for you? What has it been looking for you recently, lockdown and COVID-19 crisis? What was ministry looking like for you then?
Bro. So, been doing the cafe, been running a men's fellowship, which has fed into the cafe, and the cafe's fed into that. And, you know, just sort of like, there's been people who God has graced me with the opportunity to see fruit of that's come out of the ministry, and then I've been running Bible studies with them over the past years and training up people to be able to teach and do the same things as to what I do. So it's just sort of been, just been discipling people really in different ways, still doing the street evangelism and just trying to be available for people really when I can. But yeah, I'd say the cafe and the men's group have been like two big focuses. Yeah.
And then obviously off of the cafe and the men's group is human interactions and conversations and relationships and phone calls and coffees and meals and stuff that. I imagine you're not just doing this cafe and this men's group and then you're chilling for the rest of the week. I know a lot goes into doing it. A lot goes into packing it down. But then there's the pastoral stuff that comes off of that. And that's where really the real meat on the bone is in our relationships with people. I've found. What's it been like in this COVID-19 world? It sounds like some sci-fi movie that we're all part of.
Brother, it's been. There's always opportunity. Do you know, I've just had someone message me just now, bruv, a friend who I used to hang out with and smoke weed with back in the day, saying she wants to turn to God.
Wow.
I don't know what it's like for her. She said I haven't responded to her message. She goes, Ollie, do you go to a Catholic church?
That's a strong no.
Yeah, so I said to her, like, I haven't responded yet. I just want God to give me wisdom. And she said, I've turned to God in these crucial times. So I'm just probably going to tell her to call me up because, you know, it's probably the best way. But
I found, there's a lot of people. Obviously, we pray that it will come in their millions. It's not in the hundreds of thousands, whatever. But I'm finding a lot of people, even today on our team meeting, that we had a Zoom team meeting in the team I'm in, and Wendy's wanting prayer for this woman who she used to know, who's moved to Scotland, who's recently got in touch and is watching these online services with her. We've got Dan, who's got this guy that's come along to the food bank for a while, and now he's listening to sermons on a podcast that Dan's introducing to, and he's got a hunger for. Like, I can feel everybody I speak to is letting me know about at least one person that is interested in, has been seeking the Lord, or has given their life to the Lord. Aslan's on the move. If you know Narnia, Aslan is. It feels like Aslan's definitely on the move, bruv.
Do you know what, bruv? And it's when it's just about your life being a witness, isn't it, bruv?
Yeah.
Because so going back to your question on like how ministry's been looking like. I mean, I've been holding daily Bible studies at 6 p.m. and it's just been a blessing, bruv. People from different backgrounds, different beliefs have been joining, and it's been wonderful. A real community has been created, and it's interesting because it feels more community like with people like lesbian people from my church who I've never really built up like relationships with properly, who I've now really got to know in this time, and it's just been great, brother. Like a real community being established, but people have been coming to know the Lord Jesus as well, which is fantastic. And it's like, wow. And it's just very exciting. It's just very exciting with what God is doing.
Bruv, what's some of the I just did the there, didn't I? Bruv, what's some of the the fruits that is coming out of this Bible study that I've had the privilege to be a part of in my own small way.
So yeah, there's a guy who came into the Bible study, bruv, and
Where do you know him from, brother?
I knew him just because we had a mutual friend back in the day. I hadn't seen him for about 10 years, bruv,
Right.
and he reached out to me, heard my music, and he basically, I started speaking to him, and he'd seen that I'd put up this Bible study, right? And he wanted to be a part of it. So he joined, and basically after a while of being in the group, after 2 weeks and hearing the teaching and whatnot, he started to ask me questions on the phone, ringing me up, asking about Jesus' deity and his humanity.
Wow, it's going deep.
Yeah. He's like, so you don't just see Jesus as a human being, you see him as God in the flesh. I was like, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's interested in that. And I gave him a few books, dropped him off some books, and he read them. And a couple of hours later, he messaged me saying, Olly, I've handed my will over to Jesus for the first time rather than a God of understanding.
Wow.
We've had people, like there was one girl, she tuned in, and she's a trainee doctor. She was playing the study in the hospital ward, and one of her colleagues, there was about 5 colleagues were listening in, and then one of her colleagues the next day joined, who's also a doctor, and he's been joining every week since.
Wow.
And is starting to learn about God.
Wow.
So, some of the stuff that we're seeing, really, bruv, and it's just a great platform. And I think that another fruit as well, if you like, is that there's a lot of people gathering together. Millennials are a very lonely generation.
Yeah.
And I say that like with experiencing that myself, and I think a great fruit, bruv, is that people are finding friendship and a great love, a great belonging,
and almost a commonality.
Yeah.
In a set of people that wouldn't commonly relate or get together or do life together. The commonality is, as you said, loneliness, whether that is conscious or sometimes our loneliness can be almost subconscious, where we're not even really aware that we're lonely, but it's there. Or we're not aware that it's loneliness. It seems like there's a commonality and a camaraderie between you guys. That's just beautiful to see, really, that it's come out of this mad, crazy new world that we're living in, hopefully temporarily.
Yeah, most of us don't even know each other in it.
That's the thing, and that's what I know. I didn't know anybody in there but you. I think there was one person that I knew, that I recognised. Bro, what does the future look like for you? What's some of the highlights you got coming up this year? Obviously, COVID-19's rained on everybody's parade, but what's in the pipeline, bruv?
So bruv, I'm going to be getting married, mate. I'm not too sure when now.
When was your plan to get, your idea, should I say?
September.
Okay.
September, and even though that could be possible, I don't know, depending on COVID. It's just this time of planning and preparation has made it quite difficult, because my wonderful fiancée Sandra and we haven't been able to meet in person. And we've just put it on hold for now because there'll be many people coming from abroad.
Of course. So are you two? So obviously you two live apart, and so have you two? When did you last see each other then?
Oh man, we haven't seen each other through. I saw her briefly about 3 weeks ago, just very, very short.
What's that been like, brother? Not seeing her.
Hour. So, but excluding that, haven't seen her for about nearly over 5 weeks.
Wow, what's that been like, bruv?
Well, we've been getting creative. Bruv, in sharing love with one another. So we've been we created this thing called lockdown love sessions, right?
Wow. Okay, that sounds like a slow jams album from the 90s.
Yeah, that sounds a bit raunchy.
Please clear that up for me, bruv. What is this? What are these lockdown love sessions?
It's while we are in lockdown, we are finding ways to show love to one another.
Praise the Lord.
We started off by drawing a picture for one another during a picture and stuff. And we have had a dinner where we were via FaceTime, where we both cooked and then FaceTime one another while we were having dinner. We've done a brainstorm on all the things that we love about one another. We've watched
whose list was the longest, or who won the brainstorm?
Do you know what? That's a very good question you asked. They were both very like exhaustive lists.
Wow.
But it was interesting in the way that they were done. So I done like loads of like singular words, right? And then, but hers was very long in the sense where she may not have put as much words as I did, but what she did is she chose key things and then wrote paragraphs on each of them.
Right.
So it was both nice. That was she felt, oh, you've done loads about me and I haven't done much about you. And I thought, actually, you've done loads about me and I haven't. Do you know what I mean? So in our own ways and in our different character types, like we expressed love like through that in different ways. So both lists were very exhaustive. But yeah, bruv, and like we watched a movie, sharing screen, and now our next one is we're going to be answering questions and see if you can get more right about the other person.
So what's this new track about, bruv? I got some WhatsApp message, and I think I got one on Insta. I saw a tweet. They're just Olly's just all over the social hemisphere at the moment.
Yeah,
new track out there. What's the
hard part of it, man? Promoting the music and that. Oh my days!
How do you find that, brother? Before we even get into the track,
I find that I don't like it, man. I don't like the promotion side because I'll tell you why. My music is God centered and always will be the focus on Him. But even though that's my heart, I'll tell you why I don't like the promotion side because it creates a battle for your flesh to start to want to. Check up on things like who's been watching this and that, do you know what I mean? And looking at this.
Looking at stats and downloads and...
Yeah, and I'm not really that sort of, like, look at me sort of guy. I want to be. But it is necessary for the music, and I've seen benefits of it, which I can share with you, actually, in a bit. I've seen, like, I've had some wonderful, like, people reaching out through that. But in regards to what is the track, as you just asked.
Yeah, what brought it about?
Yeah, it's called When I Wake Up, bruv. It's not called When I Wake Up, bruv. It's called
When I Wake Up, bruv. So who's the brother you're talking about?
It's called When I Wake Up. And the track is, though it's not like directly talking about any of the Psalms, it's inspired by the Psalms. So I've written a series of tracks recently. This is the first one to release from that sort of series of tracks, which are just all inspired in the Psalms. And what it is it's talking on a topic which you don't hear so often in Christendom, not so publicly. And it's talking on the subject of depression, really, bruv, and fighting like these emotions.
And it's so weird. So I'm going to just steal in there. It's funny you say we don't. You're right. It's not, especially with men. It's not widely spoken about, but it's all over the Bible.
And this is what I'm about to say. Because the book of Psalms, there's 150 chapters in the book of Psalms, and that split up is culminated into 5 books. The first 3 books, brother, of those Psalms, 3/4 of them is about depression. But what I noticed in that is how, like, David will glorify God still in that. Like there might be such, like, there's like in the sort of like poetic style of like the Hebrew writing, there's like this exaggerative sort of language where it's like, you've abandoned me. Like, where are you? Do you not see me? Like I'm like. I've been here forever without you, or so. Yeah, I mean, but even though the writer knows that that's not true, but that's sort of like just to give you a real image of the emotion. And then at the end of the psalm, you'll have, "But God, you're my salvation," sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? And like, have King David saying like, "Oh, my soul is like down in the dirt, like, revive me according to your word," and just stuff like this. So how it's not separate, it's not like this sort of like, oh, just depression, that's the focus. It's like, right, I'm feeling this, but God, you're the only one who can deliver me. So I thought, wow, that's a real interesting sort of theme to acknowledge that, but not just keep the focus on that, because there's a danger where people just keep the focus on depression, or people just keep the focus on the high times. And it just seems that, like, you know, that's just your faith. If you've got faith, then you're going to be all sweet. But actually, I've learned that my faith has grown a lot when I don't know what's happening and I'm really uncomfortable. It's like, Lord, I can't do anything but trust in you. And I remember there was a time when I was feeling really low, bruv, and I was actually in the gym with my mate, and I just remember, just out of nowhere, I said, bruv, sometimes faith is all we have. Like, because this is what was just on my mind for ages, you know. And
so I was going to ask you, bruv, where have you been coming from, and where was you when God put this lyric on your heart and made you make this lyric into a song?
So last year, I wrote 5 songs in 1 week. Well, like the foundation to 5 songs at least.
That's like a writing camp.
Yeah, bruv. And like, I've never even written 5 songs in a year. When I Wake Up was one of them. And I was in a place where I just didn't want to wake up in the morning, bruv, and face the day.
I'm going to play some of the track.
Cool.
In the morning, when I wake up, it's a war before even the day starts. I don't know how I'm gonna make it through today, Lord. But you remind me that you made us, and you came down to the earth to save us. So to you and you alone do I pray, yeah. I'm just laying here, feeling fear, trying to creep in. Have these demons been around watching me sleeping? It's okay,
Have these demons been laying around watching me sleeping? That's deep lyrics, bro. But before we even get into the lyrics, even the style of the song it feels like it's a world away from your normal music, which is, forgive me for saying it, is normally pretty dark and deep, but this seems like really upbeat and hip and happy, and
that must be just like the Lord's doing, because so. For me, bruv, I wrote that when I was feeling in a real dark place. Like, I was feeling like I just didn't want to face the day. But, you know, as you hear halfway through the hook, it's like, you remind me that you made us. You came down to the earth to save us. You know, and I'm rejoicing in that, but acknowledging it's like a double-edged sword here going on. There's a quote by a man called J.C. Ryle. And it's one of my favourite quotes. And he says, a Christian isn't one who can just be found with peace within, but also war within. And that is existing in the song here. And it surprised me how people say, oh, this is such a happy song. But it's like, wow, like, I never thought of it like that, never intended it to be like that. And it's interesting how actually I can be going on such a deep topic. And even when I'm doing it, it's like I'm just like there, just like, Like,
I can hear that. I can hear that it's funny how you've got a beat which can sound really happy and joyful and summer barbecue kind of jamming. But then when you listen to the artist's voice, I can hear in your voice, there's anger, there's sorrow, there's passion. And so that's all still coming through on the track.
Even with joy as well, I think, even in the voice as well.
Yeah, like, but there is joy. Yeah, you're right. That was the last word I probably would have thrown in there, was joy. And that matches and it's funny how you just got this recipe, this all these ingredients just clashing together that make this beautiful track. And as I said to you before, bruv, I'm not really a rap person. I appreciate it, but I'm more of a R&B, lovers rock kind of soca kind of person. But I would dabble with rap. But this song is a track, brother, and the beat is sick. The beat is sick, bruv. That beat line, when I was listening to it in my beats, it was sick, bruv. Sick.
But you know what, as well, bruv. So like, because I remember you mentioned, we had a chat before doing the podcast, and you said about how my music sometimes sounds quite dark. And it's interesting because I was saying to someone the other day how God has seemed to like gifted his, like, for those like who are in the music and even outside the music, that we got a message on our hearts. And like, for instance, I know people that are really good storytellers of like stories in the Bible, really good. And I really see that as a gift from God when you can rap like that. Mine sometimes seems to like revert to warfare a lot. I don't know why, but it just seems to be the message that I've been given to make music with.
Do you think maybe, bruv, do you think maybe, this is me kind of just analysing your words, I guess, as we're going along, do you think by the sound of it, it could be that your internal battles are almost being played out on your music?
Definitely. And I just think as well, like, for me, this song happened very naturally. Like, I haven't really been like a natural writer as others. Like usually I just I don't know, I'll have to, when I feel something, I'll write it, or if I'm trying to write, it might take me quite a while to really write down something. But this song came to me so naturally. And it's interesting that I say that, because as you can tell, it's a different sound to anything I've ever done. And a few people have picked up on it, which I was really glad that they've picked up on it. Some people wouldn't be glad, but I'm actually quite glad. A lot of people said that, oh, this reminds me of like Blink 182, Sum 41. That's exactly what I wanted. Like that, I thought these are the music I used to listen to as a kid. I want to put that on trap. And you do get this sort of, like, it's called trap rock, emo rap. It's sort of more in America, but I haven't heard anyone in the gospel scene do this style yet. I mean,
is that you on the vocals?
Yeah. It's all me.
I didn't know you had them. I didn't know you had that in you, the vocals.
Right. Here's something that's going to make you laugh. Last year, I said to my fiancée Sandra, so she's a worship singer,
right?
And I said to her, babe, can you like be praying for me that God will teach me how to sing? Like, I really want to sing. And she laughed at first. She's like, you being serious? And I said, no, I'm actually really being serious here. I really want to be able to sing. So I pray it often, bruv. Like, and I'm like, and I try to practice, and sing songs to him. And I get melodies. I'm one of these guys. I don't know, man. Sometimes I can hit a right note and that, but it's something I'd love to. I'm believing in the Lord. I'm believing in the Lord to gift it to me for His glory.
So if there's somebody out there listening to that track for the first time, how are you hoping God is going to penetrate their heart with it? What's the gospel message of that song for you?
I've been so encouraged, Adam, with people like in France messaging me, people in Brazil, like, and one thing is people have said this is so encouraging. Ultimately, with all of my music, I just want to point to Jesus. So what do I want mostly? People to come to know the Lord Jesus Christ, who's died for our sins, it's my hope that people that are going through that sort of thing there, like going through darkness, can look to the Lord. And it's my hope as well that people that have like a warped idea and understanding of the things in the Bible will come to see actually that this stuff is very real. Like, it's funny how there's a story in the Bible where Jesus it was called a Mount of Transfiguration story, and what it is he's on a mountain, and you have two Old Testament prophets there who are passed on to glory, meet with him. Those two prophets are Moses and Elijah. And if I'm correct in saying, they are the two that actually both at some points in their lives prayed, God, kill me. And they are some of the greatest prophets mentioned of the Old Testament by God's grace. He's the one who used them. But both of them at different points said, Lord, take my life. If this is my portion, take my life. I'm not saying this, I don't want people to be, sort of embracing that or, feeling low. And I'm not saying that to bring a low mood, but I'm saying that it's not something that we should be ignoring. And I'm saying that if I can make music that can bring that in, but point to the grace of God and Him being our stronghold, then I think that's a good balance to have.
Amen, brother. Amen. So plug the thing. Where is it available? Where can they find it? What's the app that they need to look for?
They can find it on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, like the music stores.
Cool. Cross platforms. And what are they looking for, bruv?
Yeah, When I Wake Up, it's called. So King Jims for basically King Jims. King Jesus is my savior.
Come on.
When I Wake Up. If you just type in King Jims, comes up with my music, and you'll see it there anyways.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And last but not least, how can people be praying for you, brother?
Yeah. Oh man. Thanks, man. To be faithful to the Lord, really. To be faithful, to not be distracted. We're living in a very distracting generation, man. Phones can be very distracting. Things can be very distracting. And yeah, just for Sandra and myself, really, as we look towards getting our wedding sorted, which has been somewhat disrupted with COVID, but God is in control, So really, faithfulness, that people for the rest of the days of my life, that I would enjoy moments of seeing fruitfulness of people coming to know Jesus, because You know, as we say at London City Mission, let our chief end be the glory of God and salvation of souls. And
Amen, brother.
if that stops, well, then, you know, kill me.
What a positive, other than that very last comment about killing you, what brilliant note to end on, brother. It's been a privilege and a joy and a laugh as always chatting to you. I've been encouraged. I'm sure others will be encouraged. God bless you and may he keep you. Good chatting to you, Olly King Jims Sherwood.
Yeah. And you, my brother. Love.
Bless you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Boycey Talks podcast. You can find more episodes, how to subscribe to our podcast and mailing list, and other info at our website, boyceytalks.com.